You see it on your phone screen, and your heart melts. Your bearded dragon stands on its basking branch, lifts one front leg into the air, and slowly rotates it in a small circle like a tiny scaly wave. You film it, you send it to your group chat. You caption it, "She's saying hi." It is one of the most shared moments in the entire bearded dragon community. The arm wave is cute. It looks unmistakably like a greeting, and almost every new owner reads it that way the first time they see it. But here's the part most care guides skip. The arm wave is not a hello. In many situations, it is closer to a quiet, polite, "please don't hurt me." That doesn't mean your dragon is miserable. It doesn't mean you did something wrong. It means the behavior you have been calling a greeting may actually be one of the most socially meaningful signals your dragon has. And once you understand what it is really saying, you start reading your dragon at a completely different level. Bearded dragons, Pogona viticeps, the species most people just call beardies, don't communicate the way dogs or cats do. They don't bark, purr, or lean into your hand for affection. Their entire social vocabulary runs on body language. Head bobs, beard color, body flattening, posture shifts, and small limb movements like the arm wave. In the wild, those signals had a job. They helped dragons figure out very quickly whether the lizard in front of them was a threat, a rival, a potential mate, or someone they should defer to. That same system is still running inside your enclosure. The wave you are filming is a piece of it. So by the end of this video, you'll know what the arm wave most likely means, the context that trigger it, what to look at alongside it, and one specific thing to change the next time your dragon does it. Let's start with why the greeting interpretation is so sticky. Bearded dragons make eye contact. They sit up on their front legs in a posture that looks alert and curious. And when they raise one front limb and circle it slowly, it lines up with something humans already know: a wave. Your brain fills in the rest. Wave equals hello. Hello equals friendly. Friendly equals she knows me. You were not wrong to read it that way. That instinct comes from being a social mammal who reads gestures all day long. But bearded dragons are not social mammals, and their gestures don't map cleanly onto ours. A more accurate way to think about the arm wave is this. It is a visual signal evolved between dragons that takes pressure out of a situation. It often means, "I see you, I am acknowledging you, and I am not challenging you." That is not the same as a greeting. A greeting is neutral or positive. The arm wave is usually a response to feeling outranked, outsized, or watched. To understand why, picture the kind of place a wild bearded dragon lives. Open dry scrubland in Australia with limited basking spots and limited shade. In that environment, two dragons running into each other is not a casual social moment. It is a question with real stakes. Who gets the better rock? Who has to leave? Is this going to escalate? Bearded dragons are not pack animals. They are largely solitary, and direct conflict costs energy and risks injury. So they evolved a set of low-cost signals to settle most encounters without a fight. Head bobs from a larger or more confident dragon tend to say, "I am here, and I am not backing down." Arm waves from a smaller, younger, or less confident dragon tend to say back, "Acknowledged. I am not challenging you." That is why experienced keepers often describe the arm wave as a submissive or non-threat signal. It is the dragon equivalent of taking a small step back without actually moving. Here is where common pet content stops being useful. The wave is cute, so the content stays at, "Look how cute." But the cuteness is doing a job. And the job is almost always about diffusing pressure, not making friends. Once you know what the arm wave is for the contexts your dragon does it in, start to make sense. The first and most common one, reflections. Glass enclosures, sliding doors, and even certain wall finishes can throw back a faint image of the dragon itself. To your dragon, that image is not a reflection. It is another bearded dragon staring at it from inside its own territory. A smaller or less confident dragon facing that stranger may arm wave to try and signal non-threat. It can do this for weeks before an owner figures out where the reflection is coming from. The second context, cohabitation. Even brief cohabitation. If a juvenile is placed near an adult or a female is housed near a male or two, dragons are temporarily in the same room, with line of sight to each other. Arm waving often spikes. The smaller or younger dragon is doing exactly what its biology tells it to do in the presence of a more dominant individual. This is one of the reasons most experienced keepers recommend housing bearded dragons separately. Constant low-grade signaling is a sign of constant low-grade stress. The third context, specifically the way you approach the enclosure. Bearded dragons have a parietal eye, a small light-sensitive spot on top of the skull that helps them detect overhead movement. In the wild, that organ helps them notice predators moving in from above. In your living room, it notices your hand reaching down through the top opening lid. When you loom over the enclosure from above, your dragon's nervous system can read that the same way it reads a bird-shaped shadow. A wave in that moment is not, "Hi, Mom." It is closer to, "I see you, I am not a threat, please don't escalate." The fourth context, anything new and tall. A new piece of decor, a tall person standing close to the tank, a dog that just walked up a vacuum, even a different camera angle. New large or overhead presences are exactly the kind of triggers that arm waving evolved to handle. Now here is the part that keeps you from overcorrecting in the other direction. The arm wave does not always mean a stressed, miserable dragon. A single wave on its own, with the rest of the body relaxed, is just a signal. It is information, not an alarm. What changes the meaning is everything else happening at the same time. Look at the body first. A dragon resting on all four legs in a relaxed posture, waving once, then going back to basking, is in a very different state than a dragon flattening its body wide and low against the basking spot. Body flattening can be a defensive posture meant to look bigger from above and harder to grab. Paired with repeated arm waving, it suggests the dragon is genuinely uncomfortable. Look at the eyes and direction. A wave aimed at glass usually points to a reflection. A wave aimed at you usually points to your approach. A wave aimed at nothing visible to you sometimes points to something the dragon can see that you cannot. A window, a ceiling fan, a moving shadow, and look at what happens after. A dragon that waves once and then goes back to basking has settled the situation in its own head. A dragon that waves then retreats to a hide, then refuses to come back out for a long stretch, is telling you the pressure did not go away. That is the difference between a small social signal and an actual welfare concern. The point of understanding the arm wave is not to feel guilty every time you see it. It is to respond in a way that reduces unnecessary pressure on your dragon over time. A few practical adjustments tend to help. Watch for reflections at different times of day. Lighting changes, especially when room lights are off, and the basking lamp is on, can make the glass act like a mirror. Covering 3 sides of the enclosure with a non-reflective background often calms persistent arm waving noticeably. Approach the enclosure from the side instead of straight down whenever you can. Open the front door before reaching in. Let your dragon see your hand coming horizontally rather than dropping from above. This works with the parietal eye, not against it. If your dragon arm waves every single time you come near, look at how long you have had it, and how often you handle it. Younger dragons and newly homed dragons often wave more in the first weeks as they adjust. Repeated, calm, predictable, low-pressure interactions, short sessions, quiet voice hand entering from the side tend to reduce that signaling over time. If arm waving is paired with other ongoing signs, hiding for long stretches, not basking, reduced appetite, weight changes, that is no longer just a body language question. That is a husbandry and welfare question. Check basking temperatures, cool side temperatures, UVB, age and placement enclosure size, and recent changes in the room. If those check out and the signs continue, contact a reptile or exotic animal veterinarian. So here is the reframe worth keeping. The arm wave is not your dragon saying hello. In most contexts, it is your dragon doing something more impressive than that. Using an evolved social signal to take pressure out of a situation it does not want to escalate. That makes your dragon more sophisticated than the version of the story. It also gives you something useful. Every wave is a small piece of information about what your dragon is reacting to. A reflection you didn't notice, an approach angle you can change, a tank position you can rethink, a roommate situation that may need to end. You are not seeing less when you stop calling it a greeting. You are seeing more. Here is what to do with this the next time it happens. When your dragon arm waves, don't just say and keep scrolling. Pause and ask one question. What situation is it trying to diffuse? Look at where the dragon is facing. Look at where you are standing. Look at the glass. Look at the body posture and look at where the dragon goes in the next minute. Then, if you want, drop a comment with what you noticed. The trigger you saw, the body language around the wave, and what you changed. The more owners share real context, instead of just the cute clip, the better all of us get at reading these animals. Because once you start reading the arm wave correctly, you stop watching a wave. You start watching a conversation your dragon has been having with its environment the whole time.